find us when he comes.
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Let's pray together. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
O great Master,
O great Master,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
with deep love and gratitude,
with deep love and
we
gratitude,
lay ourselves at thy feet.
we lay ourselves at thy feet.
Help us to overcome
Help us to
the
overcome
thwarting cross currents of ego,
the thwarting cross-currents of ego,
our restlessness,
our
our
restlessness,
desires,
our desires,
our attachments,
our attachments
that keep us
that keep us
from uniting with thee.
from uniting with thee.
Make us your fit channels,
Make us your fit channels,
that we may receive thee
that we may receive thee
and share your love,
and share your love,
your light,
your light,
your joy,
your joy
with all.
with all.
Oh,
Peace.
Peace. Amen.
good morning, great souls. Have a seat. We're going to start with some music.
Songs of silence.
words on our affirmation for this week from Swami Kriyananda's Affirmations for Self-Healing on perseverance. Loyalty, my great spiritual teacher used to say, is the first law of God. Most people are fickle. They change their jobs, their spouses, their friends, their beliefs, their ideas, not because of any new expansion of awareness, but because they lack the simple power of perseverance. One must be loyal to one's principles and not allow oneself to be ruled by sentiment. To be loyal to others and to one's assumed goals in life, not for sentimental reasons, but in the name of principle, is the way of divine progress. Perseverance can be difficult, for in every undertaking there is a certain amount of dull routine. Don't be ruled, therefore, by likes and dislikes, but do whatever has to be done. If it is right, let nothing intervene until the job is finished. Now let's affirm together, first in a strong voice, grabbing the attention of the conscious mind. I will finish what I set my mind to do.
I will finish what I set my mind to do.
Before leaving it for something else.
Before leaving it for something else.
My word is my bond.
My word is my bond.
So also is my resolution.
So also is my resolution.
Now taking it a little softer and a little deeper. I will finish what I set my mind to do.
I will finish what I set my mind to do.
Before leaving it for something else.
Before leaving it for something else.
My word is my bond.
My word is my bond.
So also is my resolution.
So also is my resolution.
And now whispering with even deeper intensity, I will finish what I set my mind to do.
I will finish what I set my mind to do.
Before leaving it for something else. My word is my bond. So also is my resolution. And now silently broadcasting it at the spiritual eye, calling on the divine power within you, mentally repeating, I will finish what I set my mind to do. Before leaving it for something else. My word is my bond. So also is my resolution. And please pray silently with me. Though the sirens of distraction call me to turn aside and relax the sternness of my dedication, keep me steadfast on my path, Lord. My goal in life is Thee. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
Welcome to Sunday service. My name is Dharmadevi, and this is my husband, Narayan. Welcome to those joining us online as well. This is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Reincarnation, the spiral staircase. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the book of Revelation, chapter 3, Jesus Christ tells us, Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. There is a difference between church dogmas, which are based on reasoned deductions from scriptural statements, and the pronouncements of wisdom, which are based on the inner realization of scriptural truths. Reason, like a train, can only follow already existing tracks of human experience. Human memory being short, is seldom able to cross back over the threshold of a person's present existence. Biblical references to previous lifetimes on earth are overlooked in the deductive process, and we find them therefore excluded from the body of official dogma. Nevertheless, such references exist. The Bible itself presents them, as does Jesus in this passage, not as abstract teaching, but as direct, personal perception of truth. In the same way, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita silences Arjuna's reasonable doubts on the subject, not by reasoned argument, but by the frank statement contained in the 4th chapter of that great scripture. Arjuna, you and I have passed through many births. I know all of them, though you, O chastiser of foes, recall them not. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning again, friends.
Good morning.
I'm going to share the whispers from eternity at the end. My hope is to use that prayer, and then Peter's helped us prepare a beautiful song, so the whisper kind of ties into the song today. You know, I was thinking about this topic and how Christ is saying, him that overcometh, I will make him a pillar, and he shall go no more out. And I thought, well, geez, now with Dharmadevi's haircut and myself, we're like two pillars here. You know? We could hold up this temple, this strip mall of all religions temple. What does Christ mean here? What are we overcoming? Well, we're overcoming the desires in our heart. Like how Master said, those thwarting cross currents of ego, right? I remember one time Swami Kriyananda said to me, sometimes what you want and what you really want are miles apart. Isn't that true? You know, we think we want this, right? We think we want the drugs, we think we want the relationship, we think we want the new job, or being seen in a certain light by colleagues or whatever it may be. But what do we really want? What we really want, of course, is God. But we forget. And so we place that little joy. I remember a friend of mine saying, I miss you. You know, I miss being with you. And I realized what he was saying is he missed the joy of his own soul. That I was just a little bit of, when I grew up, my nickname was Phil the Thrill. I'm working towards the unbroken thrill, which is Ananda said in his poem Samadhi. That's what we're really going after. But I realized that my friend was saying isn't that what we seek in our friends too? Is that they're just reminding us of that spark of spirit within us. There's a thrill within you. There is an unbroken thrill within you. That's the pillar. That's the pillar of God within you. What Gary and I were talking about yesterday, that's the deeper meaning of the Trinity. As you get to that Christ consciousness, you get to that love, that light, that joy of God within you through meditation, through Yogananda talked about the energization exercises. Many of you are Kriyabans, practitioners of Kriya Yoga, using the energy in the spine to awaken to your infinite love, that anvil of God. I often thought about that image of an anvil. You know what an anvil is? It's just a piece of steel, piece of metal there that a metal worker just uses sledgehammer, and he's just forging, right, iron, or he's making a sword, right? And it's unmoving. It's just there all the time. I remember this one time, my late father left me this voicemail, and he said, "Son, give me a call back. It's about business." He changed business into 3 syllables, but I never forgot that. He was talking about, he reminded me of God. That simple voicemail. God, I've often thought, is in the business of business. He is in your business. He's not in your business, but he is working for you. He's trying. Right? Divine Mother and the Masters are trying to lovingly coax us, but they never impose. This is so important. This is why the Masters, the great ones, great saints of all religions, never impose. It has to come from the willingness of the disciple. The very first sentence of Autobiography of a Yogi, the characteristic features of Indian culture have long been the search for ultimate verities and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. This is the exchange of spiritual magnetism. That is, the anvil is there. The pillar is there. It's not going anywhere. We're the ones, right, we're weaving all over the road. We're asleep at the wheel. So, but we're waking up. And the question here with this reading today is, how? How do we wake up? Because and that's why I asked Peter thank you, Peter, for starting with that song. Swami's simple melody, lift your heart in strength once more, soon your boat will come ashore. I remember I heard that song, I don't know, 20 some years ago or something, my first trip to Ananda village. And then I went back to New York City, and I was working in New York. Right? You can imagine the juxtaposition, right, of those two realities, peaceful, serene, spiritual community, and back right in the, as my father would say, the megapolis sun. This big city. But I remember walking down the streets of Manhattan, and that melody came to me. And just that song. And it reminded me of this reading today. Because every single one of us goes through test after test. Right? And it can feel like you're just getting crushed. You ever go out into the sea here, and a wave hits you, and then another wave hits you, and you just, right? And after, say, the 12th time of getting pummeled, what's the tendency? Just give up. But, as Christ says, as the light of God says, as the love of God that seed in your heart, says the divine man, Yogananda says, he's filled with this eternal hope that he can manifest. He can manifest his dreams because he knows that he has all eternity. This is actually, I was trying to meditate and find a way, how can we be grateful for reincarnation? We should be grateful because God is giving us chance after chance after chance. There's no vindictiveness, right? There's no judgment. There's no condemnation from God. Where is that coming from? That's not coming from the anvil. It's not coming from the pillar of light. It's just coming from our association with this play and with getting caught up. So the more that we can come back to that center in God, it's like, I remember Devarshi, our dear friend, he leads the Kriya ministry for Ananda Sangha worldwide, and he was saying, it's like to overcome your karma, you get these emails and you ever get those newsletters, and there's an opt-out button. And you can just opt out. And that's how we overcome our karmas. We just have to start to opt out. Yes, we have to engage in the world. But first, we learn to go within. And that's why, too, I asked Dharmadevi to do that chant. I have been roaming the divine love sorrow chant. Because it's very real. It speaks to our experience of life. We've all gone through sorrows. We've all gone through pain, through sufferings. But then when you start to realize is they're actually hitting at a deeper divine love sorrow. That's the name of that chant. There's a deeper sorrow. And that is that we're out of God. We're not fully united. We're not fully merged back with God. But the good news, the gospel, the good news is we're moving towards Him, evermore moving toward Thee, to Thy vast, unthrobbing heart. That's what Gary and I were talking about yesterday, that God's heart, the divine heart, the sacred heart, it's unmoving. You know, in this Festival of Light, many of us have been here, we do it every week. Still, though eternally rejected, still you remain our friend. That anvil, the pillar of God, is not going anywhere. But that pillar, though, also it represents our spine, right? And this is why the yogis talk about sitting up, having a straight spine. Because what are we trying to do? We're trying to, last week, when Shanti was here, when many of you were here, it was such a beautiful Kriya weekend we shared with Shanti. And I just happened to open up the Gita to this one passage. It was in between one of our Kriya satsangs. And it's after Arjuna has the divine vision. He has this infinite vision of Krishna. Where Krishna is in thousands of forms. He just sees, right, infinity. He's absolutely awestricken at this divine vision that Krishna reveals to him. And Arjuna is saying, "Oh, my Lord, I beheld you. And within your infinite form, sages and saints, and their kundalini power, once without control, once virulent, now tamed, raised by love on the rod of awakening." And so when I read that line, raised by love on the rod of awakening, I thought of the pillar, right? The spine, Kriya Yoga. This is the way to overcome our karma. We raise it with love. This is why Yogananda was very enthusiastic about bhakti, about devotion, love for God, with science. They come together in Kriya Yoga. You use both your hands. That reminds me of this time I was growing up, and my grandfather, God rest his soul, he was a really tough, old school Italian guy. And he couldn't read or write, and a lot of urban legends surrounded my grandfather. One time we were driving with my father, and he said, "You see that building, son? Your grandfather walked in there and told them how much," he was a plumber, "told them how much pipe they needed, within a foot. He couldn't read or write." I said, "Oh my God, wow." So this one time we were growing up, we were working this job with there's always some job, right? And so this job was just, we were busting down a wall in our home. And my job as a 10-year-old was going around with a hammer and pulling nails out of the wall. I was pulling nails with a hammer, put them into my left hand, and I was pulling with my right hand. And I got to this one nail, and I could not get it out. And my grandfather was on the opposite side of the room doing some work. And I said, "Grandpa, I can't get this nail out of the wall." And he was kind of squatted down over here and turned. oh yeah? And you knew when he had that tone that you were in trouble, right? So then he walked over to the nail, and he had his own hammer. And he goes, that's because you're not using both your hands. And he ripped it. And I swear to God, to this day, I saw that nail like it end over end and hit the floor. But I never forgot that lesson. Use both your hands. How committed are we? Right? Our mind is vacillating. That's why Arjuna here is saying, oh, Krishna, what do you mean? I don't know. I'm unsure. Right? And how does Krishna answer? He doesn't reason with him. He just says, oh, Arjuna, I know your past lives. He just cuts through it all. So it's not a question of belief. People used to believe that the world was flat. That's not the question. The question for us is, how do we cultivate faith? How do we overcome? And we overcome by using both our hands and going after God with all the power of our soul. We all have that power. We all have that. We're blessed and cursed in a way with free will. It's like Divine Mother gave us like a really sharp knife, and we're like a child, running around with it. But now we know how to use it. We know how to use our will. It's one of the most important things for us to remember is just that we are using our divine gift, our free will, to say, I'm tapped out. Just like Krishna says, oh, Arjuna, get away from my ocean of suffering and misery. God doesn't want us to get caught up in all of this, all the sorrow, all the pain. He wants us. How do we overcome outwardly as well? To be very joyous, be very happy. Because in that knowing that we come back to the one and only answer to every problem that we have and will have. The only answer is God, God, God. And the only way to find Him is to go within. Let's go within now. I invite you to sit upright, and I'm going to share with you some of Master's words in his poem, God, God, God. And then we're going to sing this song for you, God's Call Within. First, Master said on karma about the importance of meditation. Twice daily, enter the inner silence. Worship God on the altar of the dawn. At the day's end, sit quietly in the temple of the night. Let darkness conceal you from the distractions of the day. Contemplate the monotonous recurrence of death and rebirth while still in this body. Work to destroy the seeds of your past karmas. Remember, roasted seeds will not germinate. People who in deep meditation roast their karmic seeds in the fires of wisdom will never again need to reincarnate on earth. And now Master's poem. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises, loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, then on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. every night in time of deepest sleep. My peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God.